It's already unscripted, so you get what you get.
Yeah,
I don't have
exactly.
writers.
Exactly.
I can't afford them.
Save some money on your budget, exactly.
John Stewart, if you're watching, you can fund me. Go fund me. You want CNN, I just want a paycheck.
Exactly.
It'll be great. You do better. Cheers! And we are live here at CellarPass TV from Hall Wines in St. Helena on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. It's officially September. You know what that means? Fall's right around the corner. But don't let it fool you. Summer's not gone yet. So keep those crisp whites out and definitely keep those crisp whites in the fridge because it is still hot, hot, hot outside. I'm the Vineyard Vixen, your host for CellarPass TV, and I'm joined today with Stephen Kent from the Stephen Kent portfolio. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure.
These wines, we've been sipping them just a little bit already, but we're really going to dig into these in just a few minutes.
This is my third glass, I think.
Third glass.
I'll try to keep it coherent.
We found them in the tasting room. It wasn't pretty. What's going on in wine country? There are so many events coming up. You guys, not the least of which are, you got a ton of things going on. But here in Napa and Sonoma, there's some really cool stuff going on this weekend. On Friday night, Cosentino is going to host their annual wine and movie night. That's the 5th. On Friday, they're showing The Princess Bride. Inconceivably amazing. And so check that out. Definitely it'll be a fun night. Fresh popcorn, great wines, and family fun. On Saturday, there are some really cool things happening too. I want to talk about really quick the Farm to Table excursion in Dry Creek Valley. This is going to take you to some of the best produce producers in this Dry Creek area.
Beautiful.
It's an all-day experience hosted by Geyser Peak Winery. You're going to start off going to the olive company, then the peach producer, and then you're going to have a Farm to Table lunch at Geyser Peak Winery.
Nice.
So clear your day, definitely worth going to that. And then if you don't have enough by then, BR Cone has their summer music festival series coming to an end almost. I think this is one of the final weekends. So that's on Saturday the 6th. And one that I really, really, really wish I could go to is coming up is the Pinot Release and Pig Roast at Iron Horse Vineyard. So check that out. And Sullivan Vineyards on Sunday, September 7th, has their cheese making class and lunch, and that's also a lot of fun. I know they're trying to get really creative.
Yes,
That's what I love about all these events. But to check out all these events, go to CellarPass.com to get tickets and find out more. All right, now to the fun part, the wine.
Yeah.
So Stephen Kent, yay! All right, so we are sipping on your Chardonnay,
Yes.
which has a beautiful name.
Thank you.
Yes, I love it, and this is fantastic. It really is, and I'm not a Chardonnay girl, so that says a lot.
That's always nice to get that kind of. We get that sort of feedback in the winery as well. Stephen Kent is really a Bordeaux house, but I love Chardonnay, always have. The Livermore Valley really is the center of Chardonnay history in California.
True.
Even to this day, most of the Chardonnay produced in California comes from the Wente clone, which originated in Livermore. So it's kind of neat to be the center of that, and a different style of wine from there.
Absolutely. I like it. What inspires you the most about this wine, or what inspired you to create it in this style?
Well, you know, it's interesting. You mentioned the name. The name of the wine is Marilee.
Marilee. I didn't want to mispronounce it. So
Marilee is
dancing around that subject.
There you go. I see how I caught on.
Good job.
Marilee's named for my grandmother. My grandmother, we're the oldest winemaking family in the country, as I mentioned to you earlier, and family plays a very important role in what we do. It plays an important role in how things are named. It plays an important role in how we sort of conceive of different things that we want to make. And Marilee, my father's mother, died very young, died in her early 30s from Hodgkin's. All I have are home movies of her, which is extraordinarily sad because you could tell how alive she was and how people that we have met subsequently, who are still alive obviously, have said, you know, she was like the earth mother. She always had kids running around her and apron strings a mile long, that kind of thing. And when we were making Marilee, we wanted to make a wine that was vibrant and bright, a wine that had great acid drive, and a wine that was alive like she was alive. A wine that was happy, a wine that was about giving joy to people in its own small way, like she did in a much larger way. So
to carry on her legacy.
To carry on just the remembrance. So every time we open a bottle, we think about her, even though I didn't have the fortune of meeting her. But this is a sort of way of connecting with the past.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, we're done now. That took care of that. Where do you go after that? I have no idea. That's amazing. And this wine is super vibrant. I know the bloggers are already starting to, talk about it. And
Thank you.
Speaking of our bloggers, our rockstar bloggers today, we have Cellar Mistress, My Vine Spot, and In a Fabulous World. So thank you all for joining us today.
Appreciate your time.
Love the feedback already. Yes, Maxine, that's my title, Vineyard Vixen. Came up with that all by myself. And it's fitting. And clink to you, Dizelle. Love having you here today. And I know Cellar Mistress is already getting into the nose on this Chardonnay. It is absolutely delicious.
Thank you.
You know, like I said, I'm that ABC girl, always have been, but that really applies to you know, the more traditional oaky, really buttery Chardonnays. They're just not my cup of tea, and that's okay, because not everybody's that way.
There are wines for everybody. There's no question about it. And what's interesting is that wine is a fashion business, like fashion is a fashion business.
Right.
The pendulum swings, the moods change,
trends change,
styles change constantly. So what was sort of, I would say, probably late 80s to maybe 5 years ago or so, there was this real drive for richness and high alcohol, and high alcohol less on purpose, but just a function of hanging fruit for a long time. A lot of malactic fermentation, diacetyl, buttered popcorn kind of stuff. It became generic. You'd go into a restaurant, I'll have your Chardonnay, which does a huge disservice to one of the noble grapes in the world. And when made well, made thoughtfully, made from fruit grown in the right places, you get this amazing wine that has vitality and litheness and has a long story to tell in your mouth when it's done well.
And it doesn't have to be a buttered oak barrel.
No, but there are, if you like that, there are wines that will do that.
And that's the great thing. I mean, we have how many thousands of wines to choose from?
There are. When you're trying to compete against them, there are way too many thousands of them.
Right.
But
at the same time, when you can sift through them and really hone in on something that appeals to you, that's where the magic happens.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that Livermore tends to produce Chardonnays a little bit. If Rich were sort of 8, we're 5-ish, let's say.
Right.
We're a little bit warmer than coastal areas. We do harvest fruit for our other brand, La Rochelle, from vineyards in the North Coast and down to Santa Lucia Highlands in the past. So cooler growing areas where you get Pinot Noir from. So we get a little racier.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like,
yes. God.
I know I'm going to find a Pinot there.
The French had it well planned out. When they were planting white and red Burgundy in the same place.
Yes.
They knew what they were doing over hundreds and hundreds of years.
They started before we did.
They did. It's too bad they're gone now. But,
I know.
It's okay. We'll have to take up the mantle, I guess.
We'll send a note. All right. That's not fair at all. Ha ha ha. Awesomeness. What kind of notes are we getting in this? I mean, I'm just getting a little citrus. Almost pear.
I think pear a lot, Gala apples.
Gummy bears.
Every now, it could be the gummy bear. The red gummy bear tends to give just a touch of sort of ripe red apple peel.
Absolutely. And if you are pairing with us at home, today's pairing of choice was Dean and DeLuca gummy bears, which are delicious, absolutely delicious. Have become my favorite gummy bear all of a sudden. They're fantastic. What are you pairing with at home, guys? We want to hear from you on that as well. I love hearing what they're pairing. Since so many are on the East Coast, it's dinner time.
It's dinner time.
You get us hungry.
Exactly.
It's great.
Exactly.
Oh, and so how many cases do you produce of the Chardonnay?
So Marilee is about a 500 case a year production for us. We're small. Stephen Kent's a small wine. We do about 5,000 cases total. Most of the wine we do never really leaves the tasting room. It's direct-to-consumer wine club, that sort of thing. You can find us in a few places on the East Coast. And in the South, but
not so much.
Yeah, I mean we're working our way outward from California.
But you can ship.
We can ship to most states now. So if you like these wines, we'd love to be able to love to give you a little present.
Absolutely.
Christmas in September.
Not to digress too much, but I was just going through their upcoming club member events. You guys have quite the roster. It's incredible. I was checking these out. I mean, this is amazing. You can go to CellarPass.com and see their upcoming events, but you've got the Pinot Noir program celebration this weekend.
Right.
And then Explore Deer Park with La Rochelle. Your Futures release. I mean, you guys just knock it out of the park. It's awesome.
Wine is about sharing. Wine's about creating new friendships and about telling stories and rekindling relationships with people you haven't seen in a long time.
Right.
And one of the things that we really like to do at the winery is to make sure that our extended family knows how much we appreciate them and knows how much we want to give them something that will make their day a little bit brighter. So we do a lot of things every month.
Fun at the winery.
Fun at the winery. This is one of my favorite times. This is the favorite time of year for me. It's harvest time. It started early this year, so we're sort of in the midst of it already.
Yeah, so why are you here?
Just kidding. Good question. Because I'm having so much fun with you.
Aww.
And my gummy bears.
And the gummy bears. I'm telling you, those
Absolutely.
were amazing. Who
Absolutely.
knew?
But it will be back at 4 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, like it was today, and it's gratifyingly difficult time of year. Everyone works hard.
Exactly.
But we get to work hard in service to something gorgeous and spectacular and memory-inducing and friendship expanding and
well, every
all this
harvest,
thing.
I mean, it's so different than so many other industries. And wine is a very amazing business for many reasons. But one of them is, in a lot of industries, whether you're manufacturing or whatever, you have that push. You got to get this project done. But usually that's come and gone, and everyone's burnt out and done. And you never hear the stories about, oh my gosh, you remember the 2010 harvest, or all the things that went on at that time. I know when I worked in the wine business specifically, when I was working at wineries, we had T-shirts created every year that signified that harvest or what was going on, and it was usually kind of pop culture-y. I remember one was during the governor recall. So it was the recall harvest.
Right.
I mean, it was hysterical. And but it was always fun, and they became collector's things. Like you really prided yourself in your collection of harvest T-shirts that you were a part of that team at that time, and everybody is a part of it. Whether you work in the office or you actually work out in the crush pad, it's completely a family event.
It's an integrated effort to get grapes, to turn into alcohol and to get out with the right label
do
on it.
What you're gonna do.
Please, I'll help you all I can. There really isn't anything like it that I have been a part of. Even before I got back into the family business and doing other things, there's a very huge drive from September through November, let's say. But in the cellar, there's something always going on. There's a season for everything. There's a season for the initial making of the wine. There's
crushing,
a season for blending. There's
aging,
a season for all of that.
There's something going on.
There's something going on. It's a glorious thing. It's really a glorious thing to be part of helping to shepherd in beauty and elegance and joy, and it's fabulous. Love it.
And you mentioned getting back into the business. We were chatting a little bit earlier about your career path
My
as a young Stephen out in the wild world, and you were not really even thinking, it wouldn't even cross your mind to be in the wine business. That wasn't going to be something you were going to do. So tell us a little bit about your quick journey and what turned you back into wine.
All teenagers are stupid to some extent or another. I was on the long end of that scale. I had worked at the family winery as a kid, starting when I was 11 or 12, driving forklifts around, sweeping warehouses out, disgorging champagne, stuff like that. The family at Mirasu, the family winery.
Ooh, how fun!
And it was a blast. But it would last for the summertime, so it was a 2-month thing. Never got a chance to really experience harvest because I went to school in San Jose where the winery was, but in a different part of the town. And when I decided to go off to school, I'm 6th generation of the family in the business. I think 4th or 5th native California generation for Santa Clara County, and nobody had ever gone anywhere. And I went on one of those 8th grade trips.
You're like, I'm out of here. I got to do this.
I went to Jamestown. I went to New York. I went to Washington D.C. when I was in 12 or 13. I said, I'm going here. I'm going to school somewhere out here. This is amazing. So I did. I went to school in Washington D.C. and then went to NYU for my master's. And so I was on the East Coast for about 10 years and got married out there. And my father had left the family winery and gone on to do other things and other wine brands and the like. And it didn't appeal to me much. I was going to write the Great American Novel and teach college literature. That was the plan when I figured out what I was doing in college. And that part of that happened, I guess.
Glasses and a cardigan with a hole in it.
Yeah, there was a pipe, and I didn't, I burned my fingers too often, so that didn't really work very well. That part of it, anyway. So I decided, my wife and I decided that we would come back to California for a few years, let my parents sort of enjoy the kids growing up for a while, and then head back east, because that's kind of where I thought I belonged.
To get back to the club,
Yeah, get back to riding horses and playing polo and stuff like that. Never happened. And discovered that I had missed, wrong terminology, that I had the capability of being involved in something that I did not ever really have a true experience of. You don't have an experience of what we do now when you're 13. No. I didn't anyway. And can't imagine doing anything else now. It's whatever creativity I have, I get that kind of mix now in the wine business. I get a chance to blend all the time. I get a chance to conceive of what I'm doing and organize what I'm trying to accomplish before the season starts, and then figure out how to make, hopefully, something really nice out of a bunch of disparate pieces. And it is a magical thing. So I'm glad that I finally straightened out a little bit and got involved in what the family had known was amazing for 160 years prior to me.
Finally got it. Whew, we were worried there for a while.
It only took 30 years.
Should have sojourn a little bit, but you came back around, and that's pretty cool. Definitely getting a whole lot of feedback, so I'm going to go through some of the bloggers' feedback here real quick. And what do we got here? Soft spot for an elegant California Chardonnay. And this is great. The finish is very alluring. Love it.
Beautiful.
Spiced pear, apple, citrus blossom, pleasant creamy texture balanced with lifting acids, full of lengthy finish. Giselle, you got to stop this. You're going to get a job. They're going to hire you to write their labels. I'm telling you. It's going to be amazing. Great.
Certainly better than I do.
He's brilliant. Let's see. Cellar Mistress is pairing with baked chicken scallopini. The perfect pairing. Show off. I know you were off today. And she's getting lots of lemon. Yes. Most lemony chard she's ever had. Absolutely. Cool. Are you having gummy bears too? I don't know. You might
Hopefully that's a good thing.
It's a good thing. I love it. Gummy bears, they're underrated. You don't know how amazing they are until you pair them with wine. Your family has such a rich American winemaking history. How is your portfolio unique to the Mirasaut winery, which you guys no longer really a part of, sadly?
Right. I think that one thing that it took me a while, and it's still happening. It took me a while to kind of incorporate this. When my dad and I started the Stephen Kent Winery in 1996, and my father took me up here to visit with Justin Meyer, who was alive then and the owner of Silver Oak, winemaker Silver Oak. And he said, let me just give you a piece of advice, and take it for what it's worth, but you can't do everything well. You can't make every variety great. There are too many things to get your mind around. Pick one or two things that you're passionate about. And we started with Cabernet. Cabernet is my first love from a variety standpoint. My father the same way. And we knew that Livermore Valley's history allowed for the potential for great fruit, given all the viticultural aspects of the valley, given the history, the kind of intellectual capital that was there from a winemaking standpoint. So we felt fairly certain that if we did our jobs correctly, if we farmed well and then didn't make mistakes in the cellar, that we would have potentially some really cool stuff.
Well, it's kind of shocking too when you think about in California how Livermore really is the godfather of wine.
It's the center of so many things that people don't realize. It's really amazing.
Who would have thunk Napa was going to become king? Like, what's up with that?
Well, that is a really interesting. It's an interesting thing. I think about this constantly because so many things have aspects of luck to them or the lack of luck, foresight or the lack thereof. They have dynamic people who lead who's just by the strength of their personality kind of drive a whole area.
Led the charge, which we saw here.
Robert Mondavi did here.
Hindsight, maybe that loan wasn't such a good idea.
We should have asked for a percentage of the company.
How things would have changed.
Oh my gosh. I would have been totally insufferable.
It wouldn't have been good. Things need to happen.
I like being the first from my area, not the 401st from here.
Exactly.
But we Livermore really sort of the first real major clone of Cab. The Kincannon clone came from Chateau Margaux originally, certainly the Wente clone of Chardonnay. The first varietally labeled Sauvignon Blanc, which really led to New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc business with clones of Livermore Sauvignon Blanc that went to New Zealand. So it's an area that has not marketed itself particularly well up until the last probably 5 years or so. It has a lot of work to do. Still lacks some of the infrastructure that you all enjoy up here that I love up here as well. The restaurants.
Right.
This is a monoculture, which in this particular case is a good thing.
Yes.
And I think Livermore, 5 years ago, Livermore was still kicking cow stuff off of its boots. downtown. If you've been to Livermore downtown recently, it's a whole different ballgame.
Definitely growing up.
And it's growing up. It's a really fun, hip place to be. A lot of people have done a lot of hard work in the valley to make it so. And what's happened here needs to happen in Livermore. The wineries need to lead.
Yeah.
The restaurants came after the wineries. The
Exactly.
hotels came after the wineries.
Everything kind of followed suit,
Right.
and that will happen.
The wine has to be really good and consistently good, and there needs to be a critical mass of people doing that, and we're starting to see that.
Yeah,
in
there's
Livermore now.
so many wineries popping up.
Absolutely.
It's really fun. Livermore, I particularly like because there's much like Napa Valley. There's so much recreation that you have around.
Absolutely.
I come from a dirt biking family,
Yeah, there
so
you go.
Carnegie is
Yes.
somewhere we frequent,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and I also like shopping. They have the best outlets ever.
It is a pretty cool
Ever.
spot, I
Freaking
must
awesome.
say.
And Neiman Marcus outlet. Huh. Yeah, Napa. Yeah, that's what I said. All right.
Miles and miles of bike paths and all kinds of
ridiculous.
really cool
And
stuff.
I think what I find the most charming are the communities, the housing communities, where the vineyards are actually stitched through them.
That's right.
And that's something you don't really see here. I mean, the vineyards are everywhere in Napa Valley, but these are like your housing project.
It's
communities
your
are-
landscaping.
Yeah, it's
which
like
is, there's no beautiful.
and the
more
bike
beautiful.
paths go
Yeah.
through them.
Absolutely.
It's so bucolic and wonderful. There's just something
Absolutely.
really special about it. So I definitely love visiting and checking it out.
One of the great things that the Wente family has done in Livermore is to help create this agricultural preserve, in essence, South Livermore plan that will keep agricultural areas south of the freeway in agriculture in perpetuity, whether it's grapes or olive trees or what have you. So that's something that San Jose, as my family had suffered through, won't have to suffer through. We'll have vineyards for my children and my children's children, and that it's a very special thing to be able to have that protection and to know
pass it
that
down.
you can pass it down and that you.
Well, that's
will
really
have.
important
Yeah.
because you are also so close to the megatropolises of California as
Yeah.
well, and that could easily just become a developed
Absolutely.
landscape, and that would be
Absolutely.
terrible. And I think that's one thing, when you look at Napa and talk about those the personalities that took the charge and took the lead, but the land preserve
Absolutely.
is really what kept
Absolutely.
Napa Valley the way it is. And if Livermore is going to follow suit, that's
It's
something
special.
to be embraced.
It's a special thing.
That is very, very special. We are casually moving on to the Cabernet, if you hadn't noticed. And how accessible are your wines? Are they distributed? We talked about that really briefly. Stephen Kent's very small production, 5,000 cases. There are some placements you can find them in, but mostly direct to consumer. And you mentioned earlier you need a distributor in New York.
Yeah,
but-
we have been sort of in and out of New York. We're in Las Vegas, we're in New Orleans, we're in Chicago, we're in Washington, D.C., in the Mid-Atlantic. But, we with about 5,000 cases of wine, most of the wine going to our wine club folks.
There's just not a whole lot to move.
No, there's not a whole lot available.
No.
We do want to be in the best restaurants and wine shops around the country. That hopefully will come down the road. But right now it's about solidifying sort of the wine making vision and the vineyard sources and the like, and making sure that what we do have to sell is as good as it can be, as good as any wine in the
And
world.
that's
the ultimate
what
goal.
it should be, right?
I hope.
It's a good
That's what
philosophy.
that's what I think. I don't think everyone agrees with me exactly.
They're like, no, nonsense.
I agree with you.
My Vine Spot was saying, he was planning on having smoked salmon with the Marilee. I think they will definitely complement each other, not overpower each other. I think you are very correct.
It's cool.
Absolutely, it
Well, that
is.
sounds delicious.
It does sound delicious. We should have that now. Can you touch on what makes Livermore well suited to Bordeaux varieties? Also, which Bordeaux grape does best in your opinion?
Wow. Livermore, one of two valleys in California that's east-west oriented. So if you imagine a funnel, kind of a funnel shape, the funnel, the mouth of the funnel, the wide part of the funnel is pointed at San Francisco Bay. We're about 25 miles east of the water. And every afternoon is as sort of this temperature engine and pressure engine of the Central Valley over the Altamont Pass draws air in from the coast. It goes right through Livermore. We're 600 to 1,000 feet high, multiple different soil types. So we've got warm days, very cool evenings. Temperature differential is 30 or 40 degrees during the growing season. So we have fewer degree days actually than you have here in mid-Napa Valley, which supports great ripening effect during the day, great acid retention at night.
Keeps it nice and chilled.
Keeps it nice and chilled. Allows for really balanced fruit to be grown and harvested. And there's that history. Again, for 150 years now, both Sauvignon Blanc Chardonnay and Cabernet have been grown in the valley to great acclaim. and hopefully the recent acclaim it will be growing as well, that it's an ideal spot to grow those grapes. Cabernet Franc right now and Petit Verdot are sort of my two current obsessions, and I think grow extremely well on Gilmette Vineyard, which is our second estate vineyard, about 1,000 feet high in the eastern foothills of the valley. So altitude does have a positive effect, I think, for what we're doing,
right.
Helping to create certain microclimates and the like. But what nature has given us, we need to not waste.
Not waste, and don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up. Don't screw up in the cellar. It's a pretty easy thing to remember. Yeah. We only have one commandment on our
sign.
Don't F things up in the cellar. Can I say that? I'm sorry.
You can say F things up.
Can I say that?
Just don't say the rest of it.
Yes. Commandment number 1.
That's a good commandment.
That's the only one
I love it. That's awesome. All right. Well, as we're sipping on this fantastic Cabernet, I'm getting, it's definitely got a really tart fruit nose. Like you can feel your taste buds just going, Jolly Rancher. You know, it's like just as soon.
Acid is a extraordinarily important quality for wines to have, red and white.
Absolutely.
Obviously for balance and for length of finish and that sort of thing. And the 11 vintage was a very cool vintage in California, very rainy. So
it was the sweater vintage.
It was the sweater vintage, and we were picking under the rain or just after the rain, and for Cabernet in the border.
I had started an umbrella campaign. It didn't go very well, but the heart was in the right spot.
If I had known, I would have been calling you.
Little umbrellas and sweaters for your grapevines.
Exactly.
Old ladies knitting grape cluster sweaters. It was really sad.
They would have been busy. They would have put to good use. So what you got was fruit that got ripe physiologically, but at lower sugar levels, which is, you see a lot of people desiring low sugar levels and lower alcohol and this kind of thing. The 11 vintage, I think, somewhat like 98, will be more highly regarded with some age on the wines than they might be upon release. I love the vintage. I love the vintage for Cabernet Franc. I think Cabernet Franc, from a varietal standpoint, needs to be acid-driven, needs to be red fruit-driven, needs to have that vitality and that you get from Loire Valley fruit.
Absolutely.
And Cabernet, it shouldn't be ponderous. Hugh Johnson always said all wines should be refreshing, no matter how big they are. And I think that acid is really the ingredient in wine that allows for a wine to be refreshing. So there is a tartar aspect, a leaner, more austere kind of sort of presentation through the mouth for this particular vintage of Cabernet. There's also some Cab Franc and Petit Verdot and Merlot in the blend as well, so it's not 100% Cab. But I like the prettiness of the wine, and
it is beautiful.
It's we don't look for power. Power is not what we're about. We're about elegance and beauty. We'll have wines that will age extremely well. Our first vintage 96 is still showing beautifully young at this age, but it's really about balance, and it's really about appropriate ripeness and appropriate sugar levels for the season and for the seed color and for the vintage and the whole bit.
You work with what you get,
right.
I know 11. I always joke it was the low bricks house vintage.
Right, exactly.
And it was
put the bricks in the wall kind of thing. It never happened. We thought it might after the rain, but never did. Never got warm enough to get us a little bit more sugar. But I think the flavors were there. I think that
But they're perfectly developed, beautiful wines. I mean,
I
and you did great with it. So you're welcome. Absolutely. So we were talking a little bit earlier about your favorite rock band.
There is only one.
There was only one. There is only one.
The choice was easy. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. 1A, 1Z.
Good.
That's all there is.
Good choice. Absolutely good choice.
That's all there is.
Have you ever seen him perform?
I have seen him a number of times. First time when I was in college, but I remember the first experience I had with Bruce was riding.
Well, you're on first name basis now.
He calls me for wine advice every now and again.
It's fantastic.
When we were driving to Utah to go water skiing as a kid, I think it was 19, so I was 15 or 16 years old. The river was out. And my father was playing it in his van as we were driving to Utah, and I was reading a book of some sort, listening to this.
Who drives to Utah to go water skiing?
Lake Powell.
I know, but it's a hell of a drive.
Yeah.
It's
Tahoe.
Says cameraman.
That is true. But
so many options right here in this great
Lake
state.
Powell,
There's a lot on the way there.
And there are a lot on the way there, but this is a magical spot. This is as gorgeous a place as there is in the world for water skiing, for just about anything. And so it became kind of the family thing for my sister and I.
The big road trip.
The big road trip. Once a year, we'd go, rent a houseboat and water ski for the week. and it was such a blast. But listening, going through the desert and listening to the river, and then to earlier to Darkness on the Edge of Town, and to Badlands and Born to Run. Man, this is, and then once that happens when you're that age, you never lose that.
It's a part of you.
It's kind of a
Road trip soundtrack.
It's a road trip soundtrack.
Fantastic.
And I've seen him a number of times, and it just gets better and better.
We should have him perform at the winery.
I'm working on it.
Excellent.
I'm working on it.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Good plan.
I'll definitely get you on the invite list.
That would be great.
The backstage list as soon as it happens.
He doesn't know what he's missing.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. He doesn't know how fun we are.
We are fun people. This is great. That is awesome.
And how bad we sing when we've gotten into our third bottle.
But we're fearless. We are fearless. Oh my goodness. One word to describe the Cabernet: juicy. My mouth is watering. It's coming from Cellar Mistress. The cab is very
Excellent
pleasant.
word.
Yes, juicy, deliciousness. The cab is very pleasant. I'm sharing this with a friend that needs to experience a balanced, elegant cab from California. Well, perfect. I'm glad you have your friend over tonight. Yeah, good job. Thanks, Maxine. And this is the perfect warm weather Cabernet. It's incredibly light with vibrant cherry notes. I love it. That is very cool. Thanks for the feedback, guys. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. So when you're getting your harvest on and things are getting crushed and you're making your wine, so you got Springsteen playing, or is that like?
Yeah, my assistant winemaker is not a big fan of Springsteen.
That's really sad.
It is, but
he
he works for me, so I control the music. Every now and again, AC/DC will come on.
Oh, well,
kind of a thing.
There can be a balance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, 99-1, I think, is the balance. But early in the morning, the music comes on when filling out work orders and doing various things, and when the crusher's going, and it's yes, definitely makes its way into the daily experience. Let's put it that way.
That's very cool. And so, if this cab was a Springsteen song,
ooh, that's good.
Which one would it be for you?
That is good. Which one would it be?
I'm gonna ponder that for a second.
Incident on 57th Street.
Oh.
Wow, that was a
Left field.
That was a left field.
There it is.
That was a blink moment. That was a Malcolm Gladwell thing. Boom. I thin sliced that one.
Now we know. Now we know. Well, we should send a bottle to Bruce and say, this is what it
there
is.
you go. There you go.
See if he agrees. That's fantastic. He'd be like, stalker. But that's all right. We're harmless. We're absolutely harmless people. This is fantastic. I like it. I agree with Cellar Mistress on this one 100%. Perfect warm weather cab. And I know a lot of cabs can, we have in Napa Valley, you may have heard Cabernet season. It's the only place in the world that has Cabernet season. Just started happening recently.
That's a beautiful thing.
It is, and there is a certain truth to that. As the weather starts getting cooler, you start gravitating towards your richer reds, your richer foods. I mean, all these things. We're very seasonal. I think when you're, especially when you live and work in wine, everything about your life is very seasonal.
Absolutely.
Your food, especially.
Right.
But to live and love wine is to live and love your local produce and be a part of that. So you do go with, okay, it's braise time, it's squash time, it's all these fun flavors. But this particular cab is something that, you get that guest. It's 200 degrees outside and you're drinking really chilled Chardonnay or Sauvignon Blanc, and they're like, I drink red. And you're like, okay, if you must. This would do it.
People tend to drink red wines too warm and white wines too cold. But
I'm guilty on that one.
when it's really hot outside and a bottle of rosé is handy, it can be as cold as an ice cube.
Sometimes it can't be colder.
It can't be cold enough.
Cold enough. It's like, oh dear.
And I think that the nice thing about no matter how warm it gets anywhere in the country, you're from Florida, right? So you're in Dade County somewhere. I don't know where you grew up, but and it's hot and it's humid. And
that's why I live in California.
There you go. But
yes.
There's a restaurant with air conditioning, or your house is air conditioning.
And you're like,
and I got to go in there and bang it. I'm ready for that.
The coldest
drink. The cellar temperature, which is the right temperature to have wine, in my opinion.
Yes.
These wines are. We do, this is, I make 5, 6, 7 different Cabernets a year. This is sort of our most general expression of the Livermore Valley. And then I do single vineyard cabs from 4 or 5 different vineyards in the valley.
Very cool.
And then blends of Bordeaux varieties for lineage, our top end wine. And they all have a certain, I think they have a certain purity to them and a certain they have a certain appropriateness to where they are for where they're from, I should say, and they have a hopefully a completeness to them. That's kind of the goal, and they all serve kind of not a different function exactly, but they have a certain seriousness and a certain weight to them, and a certain
character,
joie de vivre and character, whatever you want to say to them, that's different one from the other. And all of the wines are like that, and I think that's a fun part of the wine
I'm gonna start drawing faces on your
thing.
bottles.
You know what? We do have an art series for one of our wine clubs. I'd love to have you do something for one of the wines.
This one is Trixie.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
No, it's super fun when you have the character and the personalities that really shine through the wines, and that's a mark of an excellent winemaker, because you're not covering up. You're welcome, and it's a genuine compliment. You're not covering it up. You're letting the grapes, letting that wine express itself based on where it came from, who it is. You know, it's very much so alive. And
the crazy uncles get shoved into the closet and don't get out. Hopefully, most of them are
hence
relatively.
no Malbec in 2012.
Yes, exactly.
Had to be put away for a
Uncle
while.
Fester will be put away for a little bit.
Like, oh, no, you're not in the family yearbook this time.
Exactly.
Too funny. Definitely have some more feedback coming in from our bloggers. And we have the 11 CAD reflects the vintage, I assume, supple, ripe, yet fresh fruit, snappy acids, very streamlined, fine tannins. You should hire him.
I like that a lot, and I think it's really accurate. This is a 13.5 alcohol wine.
Oh, that's pretty low.
And most of the wines we did in 11 were that way. We did 13.2 alcohol Cab Franc. Petit Verdot was maybe verging on 14.1, something like that. But you know, it's funny because I was reading online about alcohol and in pursuit of balance, and about all of these things that are tangentially related to the wine business, and that are hard because they're undefinable in a lot of ways. What's balance? What does that really mean?
It's subjective.
Exactly. And what we want to make sure that we do is that we get fruit that's physiologically ripe. So if you go out in a vineyard when it's ripe and you bite into a grape and you spit the seeds in your hand, they're supposed to be brown, right? Mahogany color would be perfect. They're
like,
brittle. They're not going to give you really harsh green tannins anymore. Skins have a certain suppleness to them, but also a certain bite, a give back in terms of tannin and the like. All of these things are important. We're never going to be Napa Valley. We don't want to be Napa Valley. We're not Sonoma. We don't want to be Sonoma. We're Livermore Valley. We're the first great wine growing area in California. We're really proud of what our area can give us from a raw material standpoint. It's my job and the job of other winemakers in the valley to use those grapes in the best effect possible, and that's to create wines that are harmonious, wines that are, as tell their story in a way that is, for me, a beautiful way, that's an elegant way, that's a way that is doesn't give away all the details in the first chapter, makes you think about things, allows you to grow along with it and to age well with it, so that you're going to get surprises. You're going to get a long story and an interesting story, not a bam, pow, zap kind of thing from mountain fruit that's way too
not
tannic
a leaflet on Jewish sports legends.
Exactly. Great airplane reference. Well done. We don't get the kind of structure that Napa gets at sort of the highest elevations and that sort of thing. I don't think Napa gets the fruit that we get. So there's a trade-off there. I tend to want to work on that on my palate. It's a fruit palate. It's not a tannin palate.
Right.
We have structure, but it's it's different. It's more acid-driven, perhaps.
Oh, it's absolutely delightful. I really, really like it.
I'm glad.
We're going to get to know Stephen here. We've talked about wine. We know it. It's fabulous. We love it. And so, bloggers, throw out some questions as quirky as you can think of, and let's find out about Stephen here. I'll ask have you ever gone skydiving?
No.
No.
I'd like to.
Really?
Never have.
Where do you think you would like to skydive?
Someplace where I'd land softly.
Good plan. I like that one.
It's always a good back.
That's a good back. in a marshmallow field somewhere.
Yes,
That would be
a
great.
big gigantic marshmallow would be good.
Willy Wonka's skydiving farm.
Exactly. Exactly.
When you're not making wine, what is your go-to hobbies? What do you love?
I'm spending time with my wife and our dogs. Our kids are out of the house now. I love that we had family weekend this past weekend as one of our kids went back down to school, and our oldest is married, and we don't get a chance to be together as often as we'd like to. So that being together with all of our kids and our dogs is great. But my wife June is part of what we do at the winery, and she's my best friend, the most important person in the world to me. I've known her since I was 18 years old, and
Very cool.
spending time with her with a great bottle of wine is about as good as it gets.
Excellent. Where's your favorite place to drink your wine?
Capitola, Key West,
Nice.
Las Vegas. We love Vegas. Great food.
Yes.
We sell wine there too, so we can write it off. Don't tell the accountant.
No, I tell the accountant. It's totally legit. We were just talking about that in Pebble Beach.
But just about any place where there's water. You know, that's kind of one of the things we love. The beach, the river, the ocean, whatever. That's a cool part of.
What's your favorite water sport?
Favorite water sport?
We talked about water skiing, but
God, I don't know. Taking a bath, maybe.
I didn't realize it was a sport, but maybe in your house.
It is when you're taking it with someone else, you're competing for space.
There is that aspect, I guess. The clawfoot tub's big enough. It's it's
June
not,
and a bottle of wine in the bath.
there
It
you
is a
go.
sport.
I'm water sports. I grew up water skiing, but for me, the sport, the thing I love sport-wise. Now that my two youngest kids are not playing competitive soccer anymore, I miss that part. So we would travel every weekend to some place to watch them play soccer tournaments, which at the time seemed, oh God, not at a tournament. But now that they're not playing anymore,
Kind of missing.
miss a little bit. But basketball is the thing I like watching the most. It's what I played in high school, and if I ever get out of the cellar, maybe I'll go shoot some hoops someplace. But
Do you have a hoop at the winery?
no,
But you should.
we should. We have wine though, so that's
That's an
works
important
okay.
aspect of the
Sippy
winery.
cup basketball.
Sippy Cup basketball.
That's good.
That's
I
your
like
team, the Sippy Cuppers.
The sippy cuppers. We don't generate a lot of fear in the heart of our opponents, given the name.
It's perfect, actually. They would never see you coming.
Death from below. Yes.
The Sippy Cuppers?
Sippy
Yeah!
We got this thing won.
We're going to stuff this ball so down your throat, you'll need a sippy cup.
Exactly.
That's right. It wasn't about us. Could be fun. I like it.
Absolutely.
Do you go to the movies often?
I don't go as often as I like. We watch a lot of movies at home. It's something that we have, especially my wife, a huge love for movies. Huge love for books, but yeah, and there are a number of I don't watch as much as some of my kids, but there are certain TV things like Orange is the New Black and the Downton Abbey and these
All
things,
that
kind of shorter run. Doctor Who I love. That's one thing I will
Doctor
spend
Who.
some time watching.
Nice.
But I wish there were more time, but
It's hard.
Yeah,
But Netflix has really helped with that.
Netflix is
You
great.
can just
Netflix is
dial
great.
in an episode and
Yeah.
get it done.
But
or
you made a
binge.
Princess Bride reference. You had an
Oh.
airplane reference. I own both of them, I think. And I'll watch them every now and again when I've got a free moment, but on the iPad or whatever.
Right.
But for me, it's mostly whatever new adventure book or whatever I can read in the next half an hour is kind of where.
That's awesome.
That's as much time as I
all
have.
I've got.
Or attention span is probably more likely. Not,
Well, your
not
kids are at the house, you can read now.
true.
That's amazing.
That is true.
I envy that.
It
Can't do
will
that.
happen for you
It
at some
will
point
happen
in time.
at some point. I'll be like, is this what reading was like?
Exactly.
I
This is
had
what
no
quiet's
idea.
all about.
Ah, it's crazy. And then not the kind of quiet where you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, trouble.
Where are the children?
Wrong kind of quiet.
Yeah, right. Okay, we got our questions coming in. I love it. If you could make another beverage, what would you produce?
Gin.
Gin.
Immediate response. There is a plan
Thinking about this.
for a gin project down the road.
I like it. What
Love
kind
gin.
of gin?
The kinds of gins I like are there are a lot of them, but stylistically, I like the more aromatic gins. So I like Hendrix. I like Tanqueray 10. some of the St. George, like Botanivore and Terroir gins that are being made in Alameda are really, really beautiful.
Number 3 is pretty yummy.
Yes. There's a lot of really beautiful.
Haven't been able to pry that key off the bottle yet. Though.
Yeah, exactly.
Safe.
There's what's neat about gin making. I'm presuming this based just upon tasting it, is that there is a blending art. It's a blender's art. Gin is a kind of a vodka, so that's the spirit category that gin resides in. But it's all about the botanicals and the blend that you put together.
And they have interesting botanicals.
Absolutely, and there's all different kinds of things that you can use. You don't have to be traditional necessarily. You can make something that's
blueberry gin,
crazy,
or whatever,
slightly crazy anyway. And that's what interests me about that. I love bourbon as well, but I don't think that's really in the cards. I think the gin could be a really fun way to use whatever skills I have as a blender in service of something, a different kind of an experience, which would be really fun.
That'd be fun. Yeah, I didn't get into gin until a few years ago. A friend gave us a bottle of number 3, and we're not gin drinkers.
No, that's a nice gin too.
Yeah, we took it to Tahoe, and we're like, all right.
What do I do with this?
Exactly. It was exactly. What do we do with this? And it's a funny story. We got a bottle of limeade, or specifically the Odwalla Summertime Lime. So Odwalla, if you're listening, put that back on the market.
Exactly.
Holy crow! I have never been so disappointed in a summer all of my years until this year. But so we had the Summertime Lime, and we had this gin, and we're like, all right, mix. Little splash of soda. Best cocktail ever.
That's very cool.
It was one of those things where you're just like, oh my god. It was one of those oh my god moments. Cool. And then it opened up our world to, okay, I'll play with some gin here and see what there is.
It's a really complex drink that has so many different things, and some of the things that we love about it, other people don't like at all about it. But there's something, and we do Instagram at the winery and that sort of thing, and I have personal Instagram. I know, crazy. Old dog, new tricks, all that kind of stuff. But there's a picture of this gin and tonic that I made that has the lime right in the right spot. And it's a damn sexy picture, and it's just a really beautiful drink.
Is that your happy spot? Like when you have a stressful day, you're like,
there's a happy spot. Yeah, come home, dogs come running up, gin and tonic, sit on the patio, talk about the day. Migrate to red wine to kind of end the evening, and that's about as good as it gets.
Gin and tonics are pretty darn refreshing.
Very refreshing, very refreshing, and again, there's a lot of great sort of artisanal tonics out there.
Those, oh my gosh, the bitters and tonics and it's a whole new world out there.
And then we've touched on Negronis and
that's another episode.
The magic that you can do with gin.
Quick question into the cab: can you age this cab, and how long would you age it for?
I think that this wine is ageable. I think that it's probably what's the right word?
A 5 to 10er?
I think so, and I think that it's not a big tannic-driven cab, and we make more tannic wines. But acid is a great preservative for wine as well. And I think one of the mistakes I think people make is to assume that a really tannic wine is going to give you something at the end that you're really going to like. Balance up front and early in a wine's life presages the potential for balance at the end. But if all you have are tannins up front with no fruit, you're not going to get fruit at the end.
It's not going to magically show up.
Exactly.
Well, I've always said, if you're not terribly fond of the wine now, you're probably not going to be fond of the wine later.
Right.
You're not going to change it. It's just going to develop. Nuances will show up, but
that's right.
Overall, it's still the same.
It's kind of the sourpuss that is as a youngster is going to be the crabby old man going to be as an oldster, and you're not going to get a whole lot of payback for wines like that. I think that with this again, what I like about this wine, among other things, is it really is a picture. I think a pretty accurate picture of the vintage in Livermore. That it's not pretending to be something other than cool growing season, a lot of acidity, a lot of really beautiful fruit to go with that right now, and I think that I would recommend not aging this wine the way I would age 12 or 13, just given that their slight fruit deficit
it's definitely
compared to
different
warmer vintage. Yeah.
So yes, you can store it a little bit, but not too long. It's definitely more of a drink it now. So while you're aging all your other ones, this is the one you want to pull out and drink today.
I would concur.
Yes, keep it to the front of the cellar.
There you go.
Absolutely.
There you go.
And then, does Stephen cook?
Love cooking.
What's your favorite dish?
Love cooking. Favorite dish. You know what? I don't know that I have a favorite dish exactly. I like finding stuff. I like vegetables. I like slow cooked stuff. I like trying to build flavors. I don't really know. I mean, I know enough to be dangerous. You know, I like watching cooking shows. I watch a lot of YouTube stuff with, you know, Heston, Blumenthal, and various other people who are amazing chefs, and I get ideas, and I look at cookbooks and stuff like that. So I like it. It's an amazing craft and skill to have, an amazing mindset. So I like working with vegetables a lot. I like grilling stuff, but the slow cooked things. I love making stock.
Oh yeah.
I love making a complete mess in my kitchen with multiple hours of stock making. It's very therapeutic for me, and drives everyone else in the family to distraction. But I love it.
But your house must smell amazing.
Well, I think it does, and there's always these great uses for it at the end. Down the road when you can really build a great soup or sauce or braises or what have you. But
yum.
Yeah, food and wine are about as great as it gets, and my mother especially, but my father as well, were really good cooks too. Are really good cooks.
I'm a little nutty that way myself. I mean,
it.
I'm like, oh, French onion soup. Oh, I need a prime rib.
Yes.
And then Jonathan looks at me. He's like, what? I'm like, I need a prime rib. And he's like, okay, there's like two of us. All right.
Nothing gets dirtier faster than my kitchen when I'm
like, and it's all about the soup. So it's like I could care less about the damn prime rib, but I'm moving on to that soup. I'm already 3 days away. I'm like, I'm all over it. I'm like, this is what it was all about. Can't start with canned stock. No.
Indeed.
So funny. Maxine, I love Jen also perfecting my cocktail skills. Yes. Awesome.
Yes.
Do you think your kids will be involved in the winery in the future?
I hope so.
The Magic 8 Ball.
Yeah. Well, I
can't answer right now.
I can't answer right now. One of the things that it happened because of the way that I got back in the business. My father never thought that I would get back in the business and never pressured me in any way. I think
reverse psychology.
Well, yeah, maybe that will be my reverse psychology. It's open to the kids whenever they want to be.
If they feel it, they'll come back.
I have a 23-year-old son who works in our tasting room. My 21-year-old daughter has expressed an interest in the production side. So who knows? We'll see. It's one of those things. Go live. Be happy. I told my kids
spread your wings, have fun.
Spread your wings. You have a responsibility to yourself to be happy and to be fulfilled in whatever it is that you do.
Well, and also that brings back their character and the things that they learn and will help reflect in whatever they do. So even if they do come back, it's a whole other element.
They'll be different people than they are now. And if they don't come back, that's fine, as long as they're happy. I told the kids this. I said, you're under no obligation to do anything as far as family business is concerned. Live your life, be happy, but I own your kids. So when
it's not you, it's
when
them.
Generation 8 comes, I'm robbing the cradle, strapping one on the front of me, and doing punch downs and riding the tractor. They will learn from the very early age what it's like to be in the winery. They will have no other choice. I'm sorry.
It's just the way it is.
It had to happen. It had to happen.
Why is his teeth a grape cluster?
A big a fermentation bung.
That's right. Yes. Oh yes. Well, we always joke in Napa Valley. Our kids are a little different. The teeth and corks.
Yes, absolutely.
And they're perfect. Oh my God, they're amazing. But we have so many photos of our son. They
are perfect.
And they're wonderful. And we are a little different that way. So I hope that one of the current generations stick around and. But definitely the grandkids. That's where it's at.
It's such an amazing business, and whether you gravitate toward the farming end of things or the winemaking end of things. There's so many aspects. Or the sales in it. There's so many different things. There's so many different. That's sort of one of the bottomless aspects of wine.
Unless you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or something very specific in trade, all aspects of general industry apply into wine.
There's no question.
So there's marketing, there's PR, there's sales, there's all these little things.
There's education. There's all of these components are part of this. What really is sort of all, in a good way, an all-consuming kind of a thing. Wine touches on so many different parts of a person's life and on society's life and history and religion and all those sorts of things.
What if we could go to culinary school and be the winery chef?
That would be cool too.
That'd be awesome.
That would be nice.
Like this.
That would be
so many
very,
ideas.
very cool. Yeah, I like that.
Gotta have
From
the
your
winery
lips
chef.
to God's ears. As they say.
Question: Petit Verdot, better in blends or on its own?
Great question.
Depends on the Petit Verdot.
Depends upon the site and depends upon, I think, what you're trying to do with it. What I found, interestingly enough, Petit Verdot for us as 100% varietal is an amazing thing. The 11, and I'm going to shameless plug this, but the 11 Stephen Kent Petit Verdot is extraordinary. And it's different because it's, again, a cool climate vintage, low in alcohol, relatively low in alcohol, but just there's an elegance and beauty and length and vitality of the wine that's extraordinary that you would associate more with Cabernet Franc, varietally speaking. The first vintage of Lineage we made in 2007, I had this blend nailed. After 50 mock blends, I had the blend nailed. And I made a 750 of it, corked it, came back a couple weeks later and tasted it, and I said, what the hell happened to this thing? And we used, I can't remember exactly what it was, 8% Petit Verdot, 6, something like that. It was not a huge percentage, but it stuck its head. It was like a nail that's above the floor. Early on, it was fine, but it just was a little bit, announced its presence with a little bit too much force.
Like, hello, I'm Verdot.
Hello, Daddy's home. Too much so.
Very cool.
Too much so. So I kind of redid the blend, and it became a smaller percentage. And what we found is that above a certain threshold, it becomes a little bit too obvious. It kind of dominates play. But as 100% varietal, it's supposed to be this thing, right? So you don't mind the fact it's not competing with anything else. So it plays really well, in my opinion, at the 2 to 5% threshold in the other things that we're doing. But above that, it's a little problematic.
Does not play well with others so much.
Does not play well with others. If it's tired or whatever, or angry or whatever it is. But the varietally,
very emotional.
It is an emotional grape, no question. No question.
Well, we are coming to the end of our time, and I know it's so sad, but
so soon.
I know, so soon. But for those of you watching today, if you want to check out the Stephen Kent portfolio, you can do so. You can check out CellarPass.com and book one of their tastings. Chances are you'll meet Stephen himself.
I will be there every day now for the next several
for a
months.
while. The odds are good.
Odds are good.
And you can ask him about his love of gin, and maybe challenge him to a game of hoops when he has time. It's fantastic. Check out their wine club. Learn all about it, taste their fantastic wines, and of course, don't forget to tune in to CellarPass TV most Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, and find out all about all the other wineries and events at CellarPass.com. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been a tremendous amount of fun.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And we will be back on September 24th. Yeah, we're taking a break, and as much as it is still summer, by the time we come back, we're going to be talking all about fall transition and harvest. So we will see you then on September 24th. Thank you so much. I'm the Vineyard Vixen, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Welcome.
And cut.